Hey guys, Rebecca Austin here, and I am super excited to share with you this bonus video where I'm going to walk you through Kajabi's new email editor. They just launched the email editor. I've had the privilege to be able to be beta testing this for about 2 months now, and it's so exciting to actually be able to share this with you officially now that they've launched the update for the email editor. Having played with it a little bit and had a chance to see how it's progressed has been so amazing. And it's just so cool to be able to see how it's taking our abilities in the email realm to a whole different level. One of the things Kajabi talks about when they were developing this update is that they wanted emails to be able to have this editing capability that really set the emails apart, that we're kind of raising the bar and not trying to keep up with everybody else, but that everybody else is trying to keep up with us, kind of thing. We want our emails to be set apart from all of the other emails that are out there, because emails are not dead. Everybody thinks that emails are kind of the way of the past on being able to communicate with our audience, but the reality is that it's still a primary way to stay engaged and keep that marketing going for your business. So currently, the email editor is specifically for email broadcasts, and I'm sure, will launch it to the email sequences at some point in the future. The difference between broadcast and sequence, of course, is that sequences are triggered by something specific inside your system. So that could be when it's an opt-in or a purchase or an event that they're attending, or an assessment that they've completed, or a product that they've completed, or a post, something that is internal inside the system. We can set up automations to trigger that email sequence, which can be a single email or a series of emails. The broadcast is a single email that can be scheduled on a specific day or date and can be filtered to a specific target audience within your list. So this gives us a lot of different flexibility on how you want to be able to use this feature. All right, so enough about all of those specifics. Let's jump on in and I'll share with you some of the cool things that are now available in the email editor. Super, super exciting. I cannot wait to show you. So let's check it out. So once you log into your Kajabi account and you go from your main menu to the marketing and then email campaigns, this is where we can go in to create our new email broadcast. Now this is one of my practice accounts, so we'll just jump on in here on a practice test email to show you how this works. We simply go up here to new email campaign, or if you've already created one, we can actually go to a former one and we can clone it. So that's where some of the questions that people have had is, can we have templates? Well, essentially, yeah, you can. You can create a draft if you have similar elements on your email newsletters or broadcasts that you want to have in there, and then not have to recreate that every time. Is that the first time that you go in and use this email editor, you'll want to set it up as a draft, and then you can go in and duplicate it and then make your edits from there. But this first time we're going to go in and hit new email campaign, and then of course this is email broadcast. At this point, at the time of recording this video, the new email editor is only available on email broadcasts. I'm sure at some point in the future we'll probably see something for email sequences, but for now it's email broadcast. Now remember what we talked about earlier, the difference between the two is your email sequences typically are triggered inside the system by some type of an automation, and it can be a series of emails. And the email broadcast is a single email, and it can be triggered by either a filter where you can have a whole an email sent to a specific group within your list, or to just a certain person, or any number of things like that. But it's typically a single email, and it also can be scheduled on a specific date. So this is where you can pre-schedule certain emails to go out on certain days. So like, for example, if you have a blog or an event or something like that, and you want to be able to have that specific email around that particular time frame. Okay, so we're going to select broadcast and then click continue. And now you're going to see that our email dashboard is going to look just a little bit different. We can go up and just use Classic Editor if we prefer. And otherwise there's various templates that they've created, just like in the new page editor. Our email editor is set up very similarly in that we have some basic templates, and then as you scroll down, they've created some really neat, kind of just to get your creative juices flowing and kind of see some of the possibilities of what can be done, and you can customize it to your own look and feel based on some of these pre-done image style where they've got it all really nicely done for you, all set up in here. If you want to go back, of course, at the bottom, you can still go to Classic Editor at the bottom as well as here at the top. Otherwise, we can just pick any of these templates that you want to start with, whether you want to start with the basic on simple text, or if you want to start with one of these other ones, it just kind of is up to you. Okay, so I'm just gonna, well, let's just pick one. We'll just go with this one, and we'll just name this one Test, just so that we can have something for you guys. Okay, so just like before, the first thing we need to do is to select who we want this to be sent for, and this is where you can have it sent to everyone, to members only, or to a custom segment. And then of course your custom segment, we can filter by all kinds of different things. So it can be only if they own a certain product, or if they have completed assessment, or if they have even some of these custom fields. So there's a lot that we can do as far as really zeroing in on a specific list. If they have a certain tag, or if they have not had activity in a certain period of time. So this is where then we can select our recipients that we want, and then once we've done that, then we save and continue. And this is then where we start editing our content. So the first thing we have is our internal title. The internal title, you just want to remember this one is internal only, and it really is not going to show it to any of your recipients, so you can name it pretty much whatever you want to. And I recommend that you let that be something that allows you more specifically when you're looking through your list to find that email if you need to, or to have a very clear demonstration of what exactly that email was. So even here on test, I might want to change this to sample email for training. So you can see where we can get really specific here if you want to, and then of course this is only internal, nobody else outside will see that. Your subject, of course, is your subject line, and this is where we want to definitely have something that's a little more of a catchy, that's going to capture people's interest, get them where they are curious enough to where they'll want to open the email. And one of the new things that has come out along with this is that as we start typing, they will have it'll trigger us if we start doing things in our subject line that might be spammy. So if I start typing, for example, and I do all caps, it's going to tell us there's 2 suggestions now, so we can look at these suggestions, and it's going to say don't have too much capitalization, and then avoid using spam triggers like free. So if we say something more along the lines of whoops, I guess I had my caps lock on here. So then we have our subject line, and this is where we jump into our email editor. So we just click on that, and now you're going to see that it looks very differently than it did before. We have a lot more capabilities as far as being really specific on how we want this to look, and you'll see that it is very reminiscent of our page builder and how it's set up. Kajabi was very specific about that in their design, that they wanted it to have a nice flow, that it wasn't where you had to learn a whole new system and try and figure things out. It's very similar, so that once you learn one, you pretty much know the other. There's a few minor differences, of course, because emails aren't quite as flexible as pages are on deliverability, but as far as how we build these pages and set them up for our emails, they're very similar. So the first thing you'll notice is we have sections and we have our settings. So if you go into the settings, and personally I always recommend you start with settings, even if it's a page or if it's email, either one. If you make it a habit to go into settings, and you make sure you have all of those things set up for your brand. So this is where we can change our typography, and they actually have a lot of new fonts. They have Google Fonts where you can use custom fonts, which gives us tons of more possibilities on different fonts where we can be really specific and to our, as close to our brand as you can, depending on what your font that you've picked. So we can just pick a body font, and then we can have a fallback body font. And that's a font style just in case the user, the email client, doesn't support that custom font. So this is where, like, for example, I've heard a lot of problems with Outlook where it just doesn't always deliver exactly the way you want it to. So we can have a backup. Then of course you can adjust your heights, you can have your heading font, and the same thing, a fallback on that, and changing our sizes to make it look the way we want it to for both desktop and mobile. And this is where I got really excited, because the more that we can start doing customizations for both desktop and mobile, the better, because then we can have it look exactly the way we want it to be. So that is our typography. We can also have our color scheme, which of course then is our page background. So instead of being stuck with that basic white, we can actually change our page background to be our brand color backgrounds. And then we can also then do our header and body text colors. Okay, now on our sections, this is, like I said, very similar to our page builder. So you'll notice then that we have image here at the top. And image, this is where you can go into something like Canva or whatever image software you're using, Photoshop, whatever you're most comfortable with, and you can create some really cool custom graphics that flow nicely through your email. You can see where here on their example is they created the entire image with this graphic on top of it. As far as our header is actually on the graphic, and the logo and stuff like that has been inserted into the image itself. Now we can have our image action. So this is where if someone clicks on this image, we can take them right to a landing page. We can take them to a checkout page or go to a specific URL. So this gives us, and then of course our sales pages. So this gives us a lot of flexibility within our emails that if somebody taps on this image. The other thing that is super, super awesome that is new is that we now have image alt attribute settings in both our page builder and our email broadcast. This is really helpful with our SEO and rankings. So just make it a habit that every time that you load an image is that you start changing this, and you change this attribute to a description of what that picture is, especially if you include your keywords that go along with your topic and your niche. Then of course we have our desktop layout and mobile layout for each block within the email editor. So we can either hide this on desktop or hide it on mobile. We can customize to have it look exactly the way we want for both. So for example, if this is too big an image on mobile that I want to not have to have to scroll, is if we go down here and look at it from a mobile perspective, maybe I want to hide this on mobile. So then we go over here to mobile layout, and then we hide that, and now that image is not showing on mobile anymore. But if we go back to our desktop view, it still is there. So this is where it gets really, really fun, where we can be very specific, change our padding, and then of course images are full width on mobile devices. So that's something to kind of keep in mind, and they remind us of that here. Then again on our desktop, then we can adjust our width, we can adjust our padding, and then you can do your alignment. So lots that we can do within an image block. Of course, text blocks are pretty similar, and then we have our button block, and we have image and text. Now this is where it gets super cool. So on image and text, we have it here as our almost like two different columns. And if we jump over here to our mobile, then of course, then it stacks. So this is where it's super cool. But if you also notice that we have image, text, but if we go to desktop, it's image, text, text, image. So then you don't end up having it look really silly on desktop versus mobile. It automatically, the system knows to have it one and then the other because it's an image and text. But if we go into that block, there's simply a section here where we want the image on the left, and if we uncheck it, then the image is on the right. So you just decide with this checkbox if you want it on one side or the other, but the great thing is then you don't have to do custom editing for your mobile. It just automatically adjusts for you. Okay, and then of course the rest of it is very similar. The same thing with as far as, you know, like you're editing your text and the stuff that we can have in here is very similar. You can add your source code and have custom code in here. Personalization, this is another big one, which is really handy because you can add that personalization where you can say, hey, first name, check this out, or hey, first name, don't forget to click here, or any of those kind of things. So the more that you can personalize this, it gives it a much more personal touch. It helps with your open ratios and your analytics and all of those kind of things. So all of these things are just really, really handy that are now just built in and a piece of cake to add into these emails. Not to mention they're just simply stunning. Okay, so appearance, we can of course change the background of this block. And then we have our mobile layout and our desktop layout for this as well. And that is our image and text block. If we want to add another section, then we can do that. And these are the different sections that we can include. So we've already talked about text, we've talked about image. Buttons are pretty straightforward. We can change the whether it's round or square. You can kind of adjust how we have that look on there, as well as your colors and the action that goes with the button. Logo is an image that we have here at, we can add that as a smaller image. It's just kind of a small image here that's centered. Video is super cool. This is a new one that they've worked really, really hard on. Did a lot of experimentation, spent a lot of time making sure that it's going to look really good. It was one of those things that was requested. A lot of people have been asking, well, how do we get video into the emails? Well, here's the thing that's really cool about video. A lot of providers will, as far as email, the way email works is different than a page, so you can't actually embed the video into the email. But what they've done is they've created this block to where it has that player embedded on it, so it tells basically everybody knows that once they see that player, then they'll want to click on it to play. And the email system now will trigger that to open in a browser tab, either whether it's a page that you've created inside your Kajabi on a custom page for this, or if it's opening into a page you've already created, like your opt-in page or your sales page that has that video right at the top. Maybe it's a YouTube video that you're taking them to your YouTube site. So it'll be actually a link. You're not actually embedding the video into the email, but what you're doing is you're embedding a block that gives the perception of a video, so that when they click on it, it opens that page to play the video. And that's super handy because now we have that ability to look like we have video in our emails. The other one that's super fun is this countdown timer. And the countdown timer can be really handy if you are sending an email about a specific event that's coming up or things like that. It is connected to a specific event, so you do have to create an event in Kajabi to go around that. So let's just pick an event. Although I think also all these events are in the past, so they're not going to actually have the timer working down, but we can change the accent color, we can change the way it looks, we can change whether it's desktop or mobile. There's a lot of different things, and then of course we can make it either round, square, pill, or plain. And this one is the round. Square looks a little bit like this, where it's got a nice really background color to it. We have just the plain where it's all like a button, as is the pill version, and then plain is where it's just black and white with the numbers behind it. So anyway, there's lots and lots of possibilities on what you can do with this. Just kind of have fun with it and work with it based on what's going on. So say, for example, you have a special launch that's coming up, and this is an email to get that excitement, the pre-launch excitement, or if you have a book that's coming out and you want to build up the countdown to when the book will be available, or if you have a webinar that you're reminding people about. So we can now have all of these different elements embedded into the email. It gives us so much flexibility, super fun, super exciting, and we can do that simply by adding this particular block into our email system. And then of course we also have our social icons. This is really handy. You can put that down at the bottom. Text and text. This is kind of like our text and image, where if we do text and text, this one creates texts as two separate columns. So we can, looks like it's not showing very well here. So let's just change this to black so that we can make sure that it's, yeah, it's just not showing because of the colors. Let's make this black too, that way you can see. Okay, so this gives us then two different columns, almost like a, like that newsletter type style that gives it a really neat look, and different options you can put in here. So we have our image and text, but then we also have text and text that we can put in here. And if you notice on our mobile version, then it also flows very nicely through the entire process. Okay, social icons was the other one that you can add, where you can then have whatever, all of these different social icons can be usually at the bottom, but it can be anywhere that you want to in the email. And I think I covered pretty much everything. Image and image, image and text, text and text. So all three of these gives it the two columns. Oh, announcements, don't want to miss that one. That one's really cool. So just like in your products or your pages, you can have the announcement tab. This one can just be added anywhere. So we can have this really cool bar that can be whatever color that you want it to be, that is an extra announcement kind of thing that has a specific action when they click on it. So that's just in a nutshell a few basics to walk you through the new email editor and how incredibly versatile, how super exciting, and all the different things that you can do on playing with this. Of course, your footer, just like on pages, and we can kind of adjust this in for desktop and mobile as well. We can change our background and our text colors. Just lots of really neat things that we can do to make this super, super engaging. And of course the big thing to remember is it's all about copy. Your emails really need to have valuable content for your clients and your customers and your people on your email lists. But hey, I mean, how cool is it to open an email and see something like this instead of just a plain text? I mean, we're finding that more and more with the statistics that people just don't read, especially the longer texts. Especially those emails that have tons and tons of paragraphs that are going along with them. So we want to make sure that we're putting them in ways that are engaging, that's capturing the curiosity, that's getting people that don't necessarily read, they can scroll through this just like they do a page, and they can get the main points and then click on the things that they are interested in, or engage more with the things that captures their interest. So that's just a quick overview of the new email editor inside Kajabi. And one of the things I just love about Kajabi is that they're constantly creating new things and trying to make it better. And not only that, but they also include it with every upgrade is just automatically included regardless of what membership that you have, whether it's the basic, the growth, the pro plan, any of the type of plans that Kajabi offers. Anytime that they create something like this that's new, it's immediately launched to everybody. So it's just really exciting to be able to have these capabilities to be able to grow my business and support my business and help others in one platform to just make it so much easier. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next tutorial video.